doing something a little different with this episode. I'm here talking about 1998 Akira. This is, of course, an animated movie from Japan, and it's kind of one of the classics of, like, this brought anime to the West, as it were. You know, there were other things, of course, and shows and movies and stuff like that. But this was a big one, and it really introduced a lot of people, myself included, to just like a bigger world of animation. It was written and directed by Katsuhiro Otomo, and he was the guy who wrote the manga as well, and created the manga and what have you. And I hadn't actually read it till, I mean, I have read it now a few times, but it was much later in life, as it were. And it's also quite excellent. Highly recommend. The budget for the movie was about 1.1 billion yen, which at the time was about $9.05 million, which was the biggest animation project of its day. It didn't do so hot in the box office. It made $577,000. But, like I was saying, the movie was so well received and kind of grew in a following that it made $80 million from home video sales over time. Not immediately, of course, but just it kept on selling and kept on selling. The first time I ever saw it, I borrowed a VHS tape off my friend, and I brought it home and convinced my mom, and my brother, and I watched it. And of course, you know, I was just, again, blown away. And you, as a kid, of course, you see something different in it than I do now. But, you know, again, the animation and the action and just these characters doing all this crazy stuff was, yeah, like, I loved it. And for me, I think this one really solidified my kind of love of anime. I remember, you know, like, I was a fan of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. But I was never, like, I didn't really get into Robotech till later, till, like, actually after Akira. Like I said, Akira was kind of like, for me, it was the watershed one where I was like, oh my god. And at the time, and they don't even do, I don't think, they didn't do it afterwards, but they had to hand draw the light, and the animation is just beautiful and crisp, and the soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks. It's so good, and haunting and beautiful, and just a combination of everything. And the story, so like I said, the movie was written by the guy who was doing the manga, and that was one of the reasons he agreed to do the movie. He was like, I will only do it if I get to write and direct it, essentially. Because he had seen other works get adapted and just didn't like how they played out. So he shrunk it down and chopped it up, and obviously it's not as expansive, but it still is really good. And it is a good primer and just kind of still gets the ideas across, especially, although it does mess with my brain, there is a newer translation and a new dub, essentially, that kind of more closely changed the dialogue, but for the better. Like, again, I've watched it a couple more times, and it does flow better and make more sense, almost, in a way. But that 88 version is still amazing and still great, and highly recommend you watch it. And like I was saying, doing something a little differently, Devin and I sat down, and she has never seen Akira before. Of course, I'm singing its praises, and I've told her it's amazing many times. So we sat down, and I described it to her. Probably poorly. But as best as I could, you know, to condense this nearly 3-hour movie into a 40-minute conversation. And that's what follows. I'm sure I repeated several things that I've said here, that we recorded this a while ago. And I'm recording this intro now. But I was trying to at least convey to her, and hopefully to you listening, if you've never seen this movie, it's got a lot of good qualities and should really worth checking out. So listen on, and hope you have a great day.
Oh, speaking of anime.
Speaking of anime and Akira and how amazing it is, the movie opens with a large explosion of Tokyo in 1988. We flash to a giant crater, and it's 30 years later. They're going to host the Olympics, we find out later, which, super prescient, is happening for real life.
Yeah, so it's set in 2019?
Yeah. And the Olympics are coming up, essentially. And the movie
kind of builds its world. It really starts to just show you the city. And we get some, it's like the cyberpunk that is all cyberpunk. It's trashy, there's flashing fluorescent lights. We're introduced to some of our characters in a biker gang.
It reminded, because I haven't seen it, but you did show me the opening scene.
Yes.
And it reminded me of another movie I've never seen. Where with Harrison Ford, where she has the black stripe across her eyes.
Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, very much so. And I was going to say it's also similar in Ghost in the Shell. We get
yeah.
The city is a big part of the world, and it's like decaying, and there's a little bit of talk in the background about like workers are on strike, and there's corruption and etc. Right, and disaffected youth is who our main characters are.
Okay.
And that's why they're just randomly in a biker gang, and they go and they fight the clowns. So we get a great sequence of them chasing these clowns down.
Are those like cyberpunk juggalos?
Yeah. It's quite possible. I don't know why they went with the clown theme, but
Clowns are kind of creepy.
yeah, I suppose so. But
It's intimidating.
yeah. So we get some motorbike action there, but the real kind of what's going on is that we cut to a man and he's dragging a small child along with him through the street.
Oh shit.
And he's being pursued by dogs. And he's hurt.
Literal dogs.
Literal dogs.
Okay. It's not code for something.
No. He's getting pursued by dogs, and he kind of goes by this like security checkpoint where the military or the police have cordoned off, and he's like in the street alone. And people are like, "Oh, what's going on with this guy?" And they kind of flash a light on him, and he fires a gun. Oh, this is after he kills the dogs.
Okay.
They're pursuing dogs. He kills them. He's out on his own. He shoots out a spotlight, and then people are like, "Oh crap, he's got a gun!" Like, trade the light on him. And we get flashes and glimpses of this kid, but he looks really old. He doesn't look like a small, normal child.
So he looks like a Benjamin Button
situation?
situation?
I guess, yeah. Like, he's an old man, but he's a small child.
Okay. Weird.
And the police just randomly open fire, which, pretty true to life, and they just murder this guy on the street. We also get a small flash of two other characters who become important later, Kei and Ryu. And she kind of like works her way to the front, sees Buddy kind of getting chased, and then disappears from the scene. But you figure that they're in cahoots, as it were.
Okay.
He tells the kid to get away, but the kid, witnessing the death, screams out in horror, and then all the glass in the area shatters with a big psychic kind of thing, and then there's debris everywhere, and people are freaking out, and the kid just kind of like gets away in that. Where we get back to Kaneda and our friends.
Okay.
Tetsuo and Kaneda. And Tetsuo is pursuing as he's trying to show off. I'm sure you probably got that from the fact that...
He had the red bike.
No, Kaneda has the red bike, sorry.
Okay.
Tetsuo was the buddy who was looking at it initially.
He has the mint bike.
Yes.
Okay.
And, everyone's kind of bullying him and shitting on him a little bit. So he's like, I gotta prove myself. So he's chasing down and, he clubs the guy. As he's going along the highway, after he clubs the guy, he's looking back and then the kid's in front of him.
Ooh.
So he swerves to avoid the kid, but then the kid just kind of like, his bike explodes in, basically a psychic barrier type defense thing, but you don't know what's going on. He also has the number 26, I believe it is, on his hand tattooed. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is he the Akira?
He's not Akira.
Oh.
He's not the titular Akira, but he's got something going on.
Okay.
So Tetsuo's on the ground, Kaneda's coming for him. We cut to a helicopter with some military types and another old man kid.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like, oh, they're over to the west. So the helicopter goes to the west, shows up to rescue the small child. They arrest all of everybody.
Shit.
They take Tetsuo away because he's messed up. And they're like, oh, we're, because Kaneda and them are like, oh, we got to get him to a hospital. What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. But the military, arrests everybody and takes them away.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Just like the Hunger Games.
Just like the Hunger Games. So, Kaneda and friends, they end up in just a holding type facility. They're getting interviewed and, nothing really kind of going on there. He sees the guy's looking through a police kind of mugshot book, and he sees Kay, her face in the book. And he was kind of like, oh, he's telling us some lie about how I was just visiting my mother and we got attacked by a gang and we had to defend ourselves.
Nice.
Yeah. And they kind of get away, and he manages, he sees her in the facility as well, and then gets her, and they get out.
Oh.
from the facility.
You just think she's pretty?
No, yeah, because he's just like, oh, she's good looking or whatever.
Yeah.
And they basically, they have some
Game.
they have some back and forth dialogue. He's like, oh, what's going on? And you talk about that revolution, and she's like, I think you're just chasing skirts, basically.
and she's right.
And she's right. But yeah, so she gets, and then she kind of vanishes, and simultaneously, we cut to Tetsuo, and he's in like this big kind of moving EKG kind of system, and they're scanning his brain, and we get the military colonel.
Wish she was in one of those like tubes of water like they keep Pokemon in. That would have been better.
No, unfortunately, it's a big cyberpunk thing. It's obviously very cool and very well animated.
All right.
And the colonel's talking to like a doctor, scientist guy or whatever, and he's like, "What's up with this kid?" And the doctor's like, oh, he's got some weird readings, and very similar to Akira's readings. And they show the only CG effect in the entire movie is like this swirly light gauge vortex thing. It's like a ring. Yeah. And it's multi-rainbow colored, and it's just like they click on a thing to just like read it, and it's supposed to, make sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's they're like, he might have some kind of powers. So they're alluding to some powers. Tetsuo, we kind of cut to him, and he hears like in his head just the words Akira. Mm-hmm. But he's kind of unconscious, don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, our lovely band, they're just brought to some kind of school, and it's just like, this is your last chance kind of school, whatever. Yeah. They're again showing that the world is crumbling. There's no teacher in the class, and like everything's covered in graffiti, and just like the system is corrupt and letting everybody down. Mm-hmm. And which we get a kind of the sample, basically the colonel, like there's like a council, right? I guess.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, absolutely. Sorry.
Are superpowers a thing, or is it like a secret thing? Is it a rare thing?
It's a secret thing that some government people do know about, and like this colonel guy has been running this project. Like that is all kind of more revealed later, but it is revealed where in the scene. So the colonel has like a meeting with like this guy from this council, and he's like, hey, get your affairs in order. There might be an inquiry because we think you've been doing a bad job, kind of thing. And the colonel's like, man, I'm just trying to keep the city safe. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then I think we get a council scene, maybe a scene or two later, but he's at this council scene, and it's like, 15, 20 council people or whatever kind of thing, and it's all just bad bureaucracy and bickering, and nothing's getting done. And they're all like, whoa, Colonel, let's talk about you. And after the scene where these two guys just argue over like the most pettiest thing kind of thing, and he's, you can see the decay of the system. And they do mention the Akira project and how he wants more money for the security, because he's like, if something goes wrong, because that's what it's revealed that was the explosion in the beginning. Okay. Was Akira's power became uncontrollable. Yeah. Okay. And so that's a big reveal. And he's like, hey, we need some more money to like make sure this doesn't happen again or whatever. And they're like, there's going to be an inquiry, Colonel. We don't think you're doing a good job. And he's just like, all right, and leaves. And our Tetsuo manages to he escapes from the facility because they're not really keeping too, close to tabs on him because he's not very powerful or anything yet. And he steals Kaneda's bike. Him and Kaori, his girlfriend, they steal his bike because he's like, let's just get out of here. This place sucks. Yeah. Right? So they steal his bike, and Yamada sees it, so they kind of give chase. But Tetsuo, as he's driving, he passes some clowns. Oh. And they spot him. He can't keep the bike going, and it breaks down. Oh. And then the clowns attack.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
They're angry.
Yes, they're like, we're getting revenge for the other day. So they're beating up on him. They beat up Kaori a little bit there. Kaneda and them manage to find him. Mm-hmm. And they kind of, put a stop to the beating. And Tetsuo starts, like, going to town on, like, one of the clown guys, just beating him. Kaneda's like, man, just stop. It's okay. Like, are you trying to kill him? And Tetsuo, you can see, is like, he's breaking down where he's, like, he wants to feel powerful. So he's just like, yeah, I'm going to kill this guy. I don't care. And he's like, you guys are all making fun of me. I don't care. And then there's this great, basically, kind of goes to the ground, he's clutching his head, and then they do this great effect with like light attacking his head, basically. Ooh. And then the ground below him opens up and becomes an earth like chasm And of course he's just on the ground, and then his guts all spill out, and he's trying to like put them into his chest and stuff like that.
Wait.
It's all not real. It's all just his head.
Oh, okay.
It's super awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, it's super well animated, and it turns out he's being surveilled by some government types, and they're like, "Oh no, he's getting all weird. Go get him." So they go and just capture him again. Canadian crew, they're just like, "Get out of here," kind of thing, right? So they got no answers, and so Tetsuo gets captured again, and so again more hints that his power's growing and something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Training montage.
No, there's no training montage, unfortunately. Oh. Maybe if that would help the movie, there was a training montage. There is a montage later, though.
Okay.
But, no, it just cuts to the kids, and so it's Kaneda, Yamada, and, like, a couple of the guys, and they're just, like, nothing's going on. They're just, like, in the middle of the city, and again, it's just showing the decay and corruption. We see a politician talking to Ryu, one of the revolutionary guys, and he was a politician from the council. So there was talk previously that there might be a mole. We see that there is a mole, and he's drawn as like a literal mole. He's like a little short guy, and he's got like big rat mole-ass teeth, long hair, and it's like, he's the mole, if in case you don't understand. Visually, yeah. And basically, yeah, he's talking about the decay of the city and how the people have nothing to do, and etc. The movie is full of themes of classic stuff. What does it mean to be human, and how are you going to act, and all this kind of good stuff. Super awesome.
Cool.
So, then there's an explosion near where Kaneda and them are, and Kei and Ryu come running out of the explosion, and a couple other people come running out with guns, and there's some gunfire, and they get away, and then Kaneda follows them.
Okay.
Because he's like,
I want to
chasing skirts with Kei.
Yeah.
Basically.
Fair, yeah.
And then, so Kei and Ryu separate, because they're like, hey, we don't want to get caught. She ends up in, like, a reservoir kind of sewer-esque situation.
Mm-hmm.
She gets cornered by some cops. Kaneda helps her. He, like, basically she's, like, in the reservoir, and he comes, like, launching down off of, like, a concrete thing and just, like, drop kicks this guy into the water with him.
Nice.
And then she ends up having to shoot somebody, kills him, and they get away. And eventually all the revolutionaries kind of meet up again together, and they're like, what's with this kid? He's a spy. Like, they kind of corner him into in a room, and so they're talking about the next job, and the next job is to kidnap the new test subject, which is revealed as Tetsuo.
Ooh.
And Kaneda kind of was sneaking through a grate and hears that this is going on, gets roped into the job, basically. They're like, well, if you're a spy, we're going to kill you, or you're coming with us, kind of a thing, right? So, yeah, again, there's a couple more dialogue scenes, some stuff with the politician, because the politician and him and Ryu talk that they're going to take him with the job. There's kind of the big reveal here where the doctor, again, testing some more on Tetsuo.
Does Kaneda know that Tetsuo is a test subject?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He hears that when he was in the...
Okay, so he knows.
So he tells them...
He's his friend.
Yeah, he tells them, he's like, hey, that guy you're talking about is my friend, like, I can help, or I know him, kind of thing.
Okay.
So that's kind of also why they agreed to take him on the job.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we get our crazy doctor, who's like, hey, his power's growing, but basically the capsules is kind of like we can help control them with that, or it helps. It's kind of unexplained if it like helps your power grow or it helps keep it in check. It kind of does both. I think there's like a balance point.
Okay.
Because that becomes a thing later.
The balance point?
The balance point, yeah. And so the colonel and the doctor and a few people, they go to the Olympic facility and site, and they go to this big underground thing. It's classic like underground. There's like the huge elevator, and it just like goes down into the underground, and it's freezing in there, and they're all wearing like winter parkas and stuff like that. And they open up these doors, and it's where they keep Akira.
Oh.
And it turns out, you don't really see it, it's revealed later, but it's like this big dome, and it just says, I think number 28 on it was Akira, or 25. Something like that.
Okay.
And it's just this big dome, and it just says Akira and the number. Anyway, it's not important which number he is.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh no, all the security's fine, nothing's going on, etc. And he's like, okay.
Why do they have to keep him in the cold?
Well, it's revealed later.
Oh, okay,
but basically, because what happened was Akira, after he ascended or that big explosion happened, they dissected him to study him, and then they froze all the pieces.
Oh, so he's dead.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well.
Oh.
There's things.
Is he a cyber Jesus like Neo?
He's better than Cyber Jesus.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Tell me more.
He's definitely better than Cyber Jesus. He's the original. Well, not the original.
The original
he's
Jesus.
the original Jesus.
That's what the Bible was about this
It's
whole
talking
time.
about Akira the whole time.
It was a manga.
Yes.
Nobody knew.
It's the classic messianic figure who comes back.
Okay.
But, so, the job being done by revolutionaries plus Kaneda, they're going to break into the facility to get the test subject. So they kind of start doing that. Tetsuo is having some bad dreams. He's in this facility. It's really weird because this facility is obviously important and heavily guarded, but there's no, like, guard outside his room or anything like that. There's just, like, a door. He's, like, in a hallway, and then there's just, like, this, you know, mechanical surveillance kind of thing that's, like...
Okay.
It's like, shouldn't you be guarding this kid a little more? Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, they got other things on their mind.
Japan.
Yeah, they can't afford
They
a
do
guard.
things differently.
Yeah, they can't afford a guard. But, so he is there. I think I missed a scene, sorry. So it turns out the old kids.
Yeah.
Right? There's 3 of them.
Okay.
So there's 2 boys and a girl.
Okay.
And the girl, her health is very frail. And she's in like kind of a bed that's like hermetically sealed a lot. Like it's got a glass thing.
Yeah.
She has precognitive powers. So she tells the colonel how she had a dream, how the city was being destroyed.
Okay.
And Akira came back.
Okay.
That's why they go to the facility, sorry, to check to make sure that he's there.
Makes sense.
Yes. He tells the council this. He's like, hey, there was a dream about city destruction. We got to do some stuff. And they're kind of, again, no action on that kind of thing. Yeah, I think, so that's a big reveal that, again, yeah, there's 3 of them. And they're kids, but they're older because they were, it's again revealed, they were with Akira when he was originally gaining his power.
Oh, okay.
So they're like, yeah, old but not. But they
Okay.
never grew again. They're just like
Short
and
Yeah,
old, and
okay.
etc. Point of this ramblings is they come after Tetsuo
Oh.
when he's in his room.
Sorry, what are the... So hers are precognitive.
They all have vague powers and stuff like that, but yeah, like one of her special abilities is precognitive abilities.
Okay.
It's like kind of they talk about it. They're like, she's always right when she sees stuff.
Okay.
Kind of thing. And then the one kid who like, he kind of sits in a floaty chair. I guess he has good location powers because he found the other kid when he got taken, and then the original little taken kid, I guess he's got like, you know, some kind of blast type powers and stuff like that. They can all kind of do that kind of stuff, but maybe they all have a specialty.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they attack Tetsuo in a classic animated nightmare sequence where initially there's like teddy bears,
Yeah.
and they're all like doo 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 doo, and then they grow big fangs and then like start attacking him, and then they come breaking through the walls and they're huge, and then they're like one of them just spews liquid all over him, but it's milk because they're kids, right?
Nice.
And yeah, he's like trying to fight back but doesn't understand what's going on, and then he trips on a glass that he knocked over and cuts himself, and then they're all like scared of the blood. They're like, oh no, blood, and then they kind of all leave. Yeah.
All right.
And through that, he kind of like figures out where they are in the facility because he kind of like tracks them back through like their attack. So this is where, like I was saying, the security is kind of weird because then he breaks out, but he's tired, he's messed up, his power's going all weird because you know,
he's taking the drugs.
yeah, he's taking the drugs, not taking the drugs, and as he's kind of leaving, you know, guards attack, and then he starts doing like more crazy stuff. Like these guards show up, and then he just like psychic blasts them away, and they just become gibbled guts, essentially, right? And so he's making his way towards the kids. They call it the nursery.
Okay.
Of course. And Kaneda and Revolutionary and crew, they're also trying to get to where they are, but they get found out. They get spotted, and there's some attack and then this and that. And Kaneda and Kay end up on like a little hover bike kind of situation. And this facility is massive. They're like flying through like this big thing.
Nice.
Again, super well animated. It's amazing. It's hilarious to think about. And then they also hear over the radio how Tetsuo has escaped, and so they make their way to the nursery as well. So Tetsuo gets to the nursery, and here we get some great psychic battle stuff. Like this is
cool.
Old school. They're just like staring at each other, but they do like
Just like Mewtwo.
Yeah, just like Mewtwo. But no, they do like even less than that, where they just warp the air around them.
Oh, that's
and it's like
cool.
that's the attack, and then like the ground starts to like shatter around them and stuff, that kind of stuff. So they try to team up, stop Tetsuo, but Tetsuo's power is even greater than theirs. And because he is an impetuous child with his power who wants power. He just keeps on like doing crazier and crazier stuff, right?
Gotcha.
Because he, you know, he hates feeling bullied, and he's got the power now.
Haha.
Because Kaneda eventually shows up, and he's like, I'm here to rescue you. And Tetsuo's like, I don't need rescuing. And he's just like slamming the walls and killing guards and everything around. And kind of just throwing it all in Kaneda's face, right? That he's just like, I don't need you anymore. The little girl is like, you gotta stop. If you stop, your power will get out of control. You'll wake Akira again and destroy everything. And he's just like, Tetsuo is like, I don't care about all that. He's like,
you're not the boss of me?
Basically, yeah. He's like, you're not the boss. Where is Akira? I'm gonna go find him or whatever. And he just kind of reads their mind or whatever and figures out that it's at the old Olympic site, or the new Olympic site, sorry. It's kind of neat there, the way they execute it. He's just like standing there, and all of a sudden he kind of like glows all red, and then he vanishes, and then they show a shot of him like outside just flying through the air.
Oh,
and
cool.
he's flying, and he's just like, wait, I can do this too? And he's just like, yeah, basically. So Kaneda and Kei get captured.
Okay.
We don't know what happened to some of the other people. One of them definitely gets killed, and we don't know what happened to somebody else, kind of thing. There was a scene previously where the little girl, I think she's 26? No, 25, I think. Anyway, she was controlling Kei, giving directions for Kaneda to get to the nursery.
Oh, okay.
She was like psychically kind of like controlling her and being like, go this hall, take an elevator, blah, blah, blah. So they're in prison. There's some, basically the dialogue about what Akira power is. And it's like, it's hard to explain. But imagine, it's either like, not a genetic memory thing, but it's like, you know, human stage of evolution, say 20 million years in the future, and how much power they would have if you gave it to somebody now.
Okay.
So, because she talks about like, if you gave our kind of power to an amoeba, it wouldn't know how to deal with it, and what would it do, right?
Right.
Because it's like an amoeba can't build a motorcycle or a bridge, and like, so it would do something weird and crazy, and that's kind of the power that they're tapping into, the power of the universe, essentially, is what that Akira is.
And he doesn't have the training.
Yeah, or the ability to control that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're a human from now, not a human from when potentially, say, this power would be more understood, right?
Okay.
Yeah, there's some good back and forth, and then also Kei gets controlled again. There's a couple lines where that's like the reveal of the power of Akira, and the door gets unlocked by the people psychically, so they get away.
Ah, nice.
Cut to, so the city is going crazy. The politicians try to arrest the colonel. And he's like, nope, I'm not accepting that order. Has the guy shoot the guy trying to arrest him. And then the colonel's like, look, these corrupt politicians are the problem here, not me. I'm just trying to protect the people. So he basically stages a coup.
Nice.
Yeah, so he stages a coup. We see some politicians trying to get away. Some have killed themselves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dark.
Yeah, no, it's a dark movie. And the one of the revolutionaries, I think it's Ryu, maybe, he is injured, and he goes and finds the mole politician, and he's like, oh, we screwed up the job, it didn't work. And the mole guy's like, I told you not to show up. No one's supposed to know I'm involved with you.
Yeah.
And he has, like, heart problems, and he's basically, like, they're, like, walking through the street, and then Buddy's got, like, a suitcase full of like bonds and money and etc.
Yeah.
And eventually he has to like let it go, and then he dies of a heart attack.
Right.
Yeah, and Ryu is all as well because he's shot. I think he succumbs to his wounds as well.
Oh, okay. Everybody dies.
Yeah.
Right. Good.
And so while this is happening, there's people that are like, you know, no, the cult of Akira and everything like that, and then they see Tetsuo, and he's walking through the street, and he gets attacked by a tank. And then he just disassembles, you know, Dr. Manhattan style.
Yeah.
From like the Watchmen. He basically disassembles the tank and blows it up with his mind.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, holy crap, it's Akira. And a couple were like, no, it's not Akira. This is a false guy. And then they just kick that guy aside. And everyone's like, Akira is here. Kind of thing. And then they start following him. And so Tetsuo is just making his way to the site where Akira is.
Yeah.
There's a sequence on a bridge where the military has like laser weapons, like full on laser weapons.
Okay.
And they laser at Tetsuo, and he kind of shields them aside, but the crowd behind him starts getting hit. Mm-hmm. And then he collapses the bridge under the military, again, with his mind.
Nice,
right?
nice.
Yeah, and everyone's just exploding and all sorts of stuff. So he gets to the site, gets to Akira, and then he raises the whole facility above the earth, because it was underground, right? And then, so he raises it all above the earth, and it's really a great shot, because there's all these like cooling pipes and everything like that, and they're all flying off like tentacles, and it's just like slamming into the ground and blowing smoke everywhere.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, super cool. He opens it up, and then this is, like I was saying, the reveal. Akira is in there, but he's disassembled. It's all like test tubes of just nerve endings and pieces, and they're all marked. And then the colonel, he's there, and he gets on the horn that he's telling Tetsuo, he's like, this is what they did. They didn't understand what happened to him. They just locked him away because they didn't want to pursue it further. No one knows what happened. It's bad. While he's telling him that, he's like, contact the soul weapon, which I assume stands for satellite orbiting laser. And he's like, get that online.
Yeah.
Kaneda. Oh yeah, there was a scene, where Tetsuo, after he broke out of the facility, kills Yamada, one of the friends from the biker gang, and he's like taking capsules from the bar. He goes back to that bar that we saw at the beginning, and has a little freak out, etc.
Yeah, fair.
So Kaneda, he finds his buddy, gets his bike, and he's like, we gotta go kill Tetsuo. He's like, it can't be anybody else. We're his friends,
Deserve to die by the hand of his friend. Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So he's on the motorbike, gets one of the laser weapons. So he's on his way. Oh yeah, Kay gets kidnapped. Basically, she like walks on water and then vanishes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So she gets kidnapped by the psychic girl. So Kay and Tetsuo have a psychic battle. They're flinging psychic energy at each other and smashing everything around.
Did Kay have powers the whole time, or is it because she's being controlled by the little girl?
She's being controlled by the little girl. Cool. Turns out she has like an inkling of the power. We all do, but hers has like a little more.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of like the Force.
Gotcha.
Yeah, she's got a little more. So that's why she can control her and use her. So they have a psychic battle. Kay loses the psychic battle.
Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's right after that, Kaneda shows up. And he, they have some good dialogue and etc. And then he fires the laser, and they battle. So Kaneda's got the laser weapon. Tetsuo again using his psychic mind powers and etc. Kaneda drops his guard a couple times, almost gets killed and etc. Then the soul laser just laser blasts right on top of Tetsuo.
Okay.
It's super awesome. Blows off his arm.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of injured, I think, in the fight with Kay. Yeah, his whole arm disintegrates, and the laser just... and, like, orbital laser style. It's classic.
Yeah.
And the colonel's like, shoot it again, because we don't know what happened. Tetsuo and them, they're just kind of trying to survive, and then Tetsuo goes into space, because he's ultra powerful.
Yeah.
Goes into space, goes up to the laser, and then crashes it into the Earth. And so it breaks up in orbit, and as it's falling, it was still trying to shoot again. So now it's indiscriminately just shooting lasers at the city and stuff, and at Tetsuo and them and Kaneda. Yeah, so they get away. They don't die. They don't it kind of does a thing. They fall over off a motorbike, and then the ground all starts to kind of shake, and the light's covering them, but then it just dissipates away. So everyone's okay. And everyone's like, okay, time to reset. Right?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So Tetsuo grows himself another arm through just like the parts and
the powers. Gotcha.
Well, yeah, all the junk and everything around him. He just basically like creates an arm out of metal and etc. And this is where the whole body horror genre is born. Essentially, is through this, because he creates this metal arm, and in a few minutes it goes horribly wrong. And so Kaneda and them, they're like, okay, recharging the laser on the battery. He's like, we gotta do this.
Yeah.
The colonel, he's just kind of like, all right, I gotta go deal with this myself.
Yeah.
And Kaori comes along, which I know I've previously mentioned her, but you don't see her a lot in the movie as it is. But she finds Tetsuo, and he's in the Olympic Stadium. And
that's his girlfriend, right?
That's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
He's in the Olympic Stadium. He's sitting on like a throne, and he's just kind of like, hey, I'm starting to not feel really good. I think I need some capsules or something.
Yeah.
And the colonel even comes along and then says that to him. He's like, hey, Tetsuo, you need some capsules. I can help you. And then Tetsuo was like, no, you just want to lock me away like you did these other kids. And he's just like, oh, I just got to obey you and etc.
Yeah.
And while he's talking and telling all this, his arm is starting to grow beyond its arm and it's starting to attach into the concrete and it's all getting all wiry and everything.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. And it's starting to really like go out of control. And then when he stands up, it rips the throne out with him.
Oh.
The colonel shoots Kaneda. No, not Kaneda. Tetsuo, sorry.
Yeah.
Shoots him. Knocks him over. And then Kaneda is there as well. Yeah, he shoots him, knocks him over. It's a quick succession of events. Him and Kaneda fight a little bit. The
Colonel and Kaneda?
Sorry, no. Kaneda and Tetsuo fight a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's got the laser. Shoots him a couple times. And Tetsuo does some stuff where he just like, again, flies up on the ground and like smashes stuff. And Kaneda's just trying to stay alive. And there's all these rocks that would crush him at one point. And they don't. They're stopped by some sort of weird force. And then it's the kids.
Oh.
The 3 other kids show up. 2 of them are kneeling in front of Akira because Tetsuo has Akira all there.
They got all his body parts?
All the body parts there. And he was just kind of studying them earlier and stuff like that. And they're all there. So they're there. And they're just kind of like sit down meditatively like they're communing. And I think Tetsuo maybe shoots him one more. Or Kaneda shoots Tetsuo maybe one more time. But basically, he was going to go shoot him again. And then he starts, like, he sees him on the ground. He's all, like, convulsing and freaking out. And this is super hard to explain to anybody who hasn't seen this. But, so his arm, like I was saying previously, how it was growing out and becoming, it basically, something flops down and it's, like, flesh now and not mechanical.
Oh.
But it's mixed in with all these mechanical elements. And then it just starts to expand. And expand. And then he grows giant. And it's all disgusting flesh and metal and wires, and the whole time he's like, Kaneda, help me, I don't understand what's going on, because basically his power has just gone beyond his body, and it's expanding to like this nutso size.
Okay.
And so he just starts expanding. He absorbs Kaneda, he absorbs Kaori.
Oh, wow.
Kaneda, they have a little bit of dialogue, and he's like, I can't control myself, I can't stop it, and then Kaori gets crushed and killed. Kaneda, with the laser, manages to shoot himself out of there.
Okay.
While this is happening, it kind of cuts back to that doctor once in a while, and then it shows like that ring, and it's going kind of all nuts and psychotic. Yeah. And again, his power is expanding, and the 3 kids are now all in front of Akira, and the colonel, he's like, this is the funniest scene to me, is the colonel's like there, and there's this expanding monster of flesh and mechanics.
Yeah.
And and he's got like a pistol of some kind, and he's just like, oh right. And he steps up and he just like starts shooting at it, and I'm like, what are you doing?
It's like in Hot Fuzz when they're like, when you run out of bullets, you ever throw the gun?
Yeah. But he literally is just like, it doesn't even, I'm like, okay. But he's just like, I'll protect these kids. And he starts shooting. Whatever, it's useless.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. And then all of the vials all break, like in succession. It's like, and then the energy starts to grow and expand, and then we see Akira.
Ooh.
The titular Akira, he's there, he's a small little child, and he just kind of has like this knowing smile. He's transparent, that you can kind of almost see through him, but you can still see his like nerve ending structure and his skeletal structure a little bit. Yeah, he just kind of smiles. The white light starts to grow and expand, similar to that first opening scene.
Yeah.
And it starts to absorb Tetsuo, it absorbs the colonel, or no, it starts to absorb the Tetsuo and Kaneda. The kids are like, you gotta get away. He's like, we'll get you out of here. And he's like, no, that's my friend, I can help him or whatever. And so Kaneda and Tetsuo gets absorbed. They teleport the colonel away to like a tunnel. They're like, hey, it's about to go down. Go under this tunnel.
Yeah.
And the 3 kids, or 2 of the kids are gonna get away. And the initial child that we saw, he's like, oh no, I'm gonna go help Kaneda basically, and they're like, no, you got to get away. If you go in there, you won't survive. And he's like, but it's not their fault. Like it just happened to them. So he goes in, and the other 2 decide to go in with. They all absorb into this white light growing energy. The doctor, flashes to him because he's like near ground zero, and he's watching this thing, and he's all like, it's amazing and incredible. And of course, it's just like, blah, they all just get like exploded away, basically, right?
Nice.
And we get some scenes where, this is where a lot of reveal basically is, where you see Akira and you see the kids how they were experimented on, and then them displaying their psychic powers, where some of them were like, moving things telepathically or telekinetically.
Yeah.
Some can like manipulate TVs to do stuff. You see another one, he's looking at like a black box or a gray box with just like some numbers, but he's like drawing this whole big circuitry thing that it's, I guess he's seeing that through it.
Oh, okay.
And so they're all displaying power, and you get a couple flashes of Akira. We also get reveals of Tetsuo's life, where he was basically abandoned in like an orphanage kind of situation. Kaneda was there, and they kind of grew up together, and Kaneda was always like protecting him because I guess he was a little older.
Yeah.
And he gets his toy back after bullies beat him up for it and stuff like that, right? So he was always trying to help him out, but always was like, hey, you're not, he was always looking up to him, but he was always trying to live up to Kaneda, right?
Yeah.
Some dialogue with the kids as well, talking about the power and etc., and how it's uncontrollable essentially at this time in the world. Kay, you hear her voice a few times, and Kaneda kind of like, because it's like a stream of consciousness that he's stuck in, and he manages to extricate himself with it, like hearing Kay's voice, and the kids probably help.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he appears on the ground, and there's a ball of light in front of him that he kind of absorbs, and it's like Tetsuo's memories, essentially. Or, he kind of like remembers them on. Everything around him is destroyed, and there's just basically a big crater filled with water, buildings knocked over, and everything, and all askew. And Kay is there, as well as, and the one other gang member that helps him out, the little one, and they ride off into the sunset. And then the colonel survives, of course, as well, and he sees the destruction that is wrought. And yeah, there's a couple lines of like, just like, oh, maybe someday will be, but it's already begun, kind of a thing, and that's it. And then it ends with this kind of eye, and it just says, I am Tetsuo, and then credits.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'm sure I missed a few things.
Probably.
But it's like, it's an intense and confusing movie. Especially the first time you watch it. It's just like, what is even happening? Especially back in 1986. When it came out.
This is your favorite anime movie?
I would say one of my favorite anime movies for sure. Like,
oh, yeah?
I've considered multiple times of getting an Akira tattoo.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I love Akira a lot. It was one of those movies that, like, it was one of the first ones I had seen, because it was one of the first movies that actually got ported over to the West. Like, it had a voice dialogue, it was dubbed and everything. And I remember borrowing a VHS from my friend from elementary school.
To watch it?
To watch it at my house.
Nice.
And it was
Was
amazing.
it dubbed?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
it was dubbed.
That. Yeah,
yes. Okay. And, it was like, I was one of those people that had just, like, opened the eyes to being like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
like,
fair. Yeah.
Like, where is more of this?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, it wasn't like Sailor Moon or Robotech or Dragon Ball. I mean, although I did watch Dragon Ball a lot, but it was like Akira where
Don't you really like Robotech too?
I love Robotech, but I didn't watch Robotech till like after I had seen Akira.
Oh, I see.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I meant that it was just like, it was after Akira that it was like, whoa.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because I remember watching Dragon Ball, when I was a kid, when I lived at a different house. When I was younger.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Akira where it was like...
Where you're like, this is cool.
Yeah. Boom.
But it's not your favorite. You can definitively say it's your favorite anime.
I think I probably would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like, it's either like number one or tied with something to be number one, but...
What would it be tied with?
Maybe Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, obviously. The ScarJo version. Yeah. But from my crazy description, would you be willing to give it a shot? Because you have not seen this movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and like you and Tony both like it, so I feel like I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But the opening scene was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's not the type of anime that I usually watch.
Yeah.
And it is 2.5 hours.
It's pretty long, and like I was saying, I might have missed a few things. There's a couple drag points.
Yeah.
Where, and here was the thing, like I was saying, this was written and directed by the guy who wrote the manga. The manga, of course, famously is 6 volumes. It's also amazing, but this movie is essentially volume, 1.
Oh, Jesus.
Of the manga. Right? He takes some elements from further down, but that's pretty much it, because the manga, after the city is destroyed, the manga continues.
Oh.
Right, so...
Yeah, I don't know if I'd watch it.
Because Tetsuo lives in the manga, sorry, spoilers. And Akira manifests into the world.
Was there plans to do more movies?
No. See, because I want to say maybe not, because this was really expensive, because I think, like I was saying previously to you, they drew everything, except for the one CG thing. They had to draw the light. It was really expensive to make.
Really beautiful, though.
And it didn't make as much, box office return-wise as they wanted, but obviously it has gone on to be like a cult hit and sell because it was reissued in 90... I think it was reissued in 96 and again in 2000 and something, because that's what the DVD version I have.
Gotcha.
When they did a redub of it.
Did they do like a theatrical release?
I think it got a limited theatrical release at the time, but again, Western audiences weren't keyed up on something like Akira, right? Like, they'd be like, cartoons, that's for kids.
Did it get nominated for anything, like at the Academy Awards?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not again.
Yeah, because they didn't do the animated feature film until after Beauty and the Beast. Because Beauty and the Beast got nominated for Best Feature Film.
Oh.
Yeah, did you know that?
No.
In like 92, I think.
Yeah.
Got nominated for Best Feature Film, and then the year after they created the
Best animated character?
Yeah, the Best Animated Feature Film.
Right.
Because they had the short.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, but
and then Disney won every year.
Yeah. Not shocking.
Frozen 2. No.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really good. I would highly recommend watching it.
Yeah, maybe.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Better commitment than previously, which was 0.
0.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I kind of iterated in there, it basically kicked off the entire like body horror genre of the mechanical. Because the big theme in it, of course, is in Japan, not shockingly, after they had nuclear weapons dropped on them, is that the technology becoming beyond our control.
Right.
And that's the whole thing, is that Tetsuo's power becomes beyond his control and takes him over and destroys him. That's a huge theme in Japan stuff, right? So,
yeah,
not shocking considering the technological society they live in. But yeah, it created that body horror genre of like everything attaching to him, and then it just becomes crazy and goes wild, and spawned all sorts of things after that.
Cool.
Highly recommend.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us on all social medias at Tome of Uselessness. Or you can go to our website, tomeofuselessness.com. Or you can email us if you would like us to review your favorite anime. tomeofuselessness@gmail.com.
Yeah, give us that Evangelion. We will butcher the hell out of that.
Yes! I don't even remember the name of that half the time.
Yeah.
And rate and review us on iTunes. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Tetsuo!